Wano, Wano, Wano. Boys, we made it to Wano finally. Listen, I was told to come to Wano at any cost necessary, and here the hell we are. All of these months later, all of these videos later, we are finally here in Wano, and we have finished Act 1, and Act 1 is an absolute banger, guys. So if you haven't already, I just want to hop right into this, but if you haven't already, please drop a subscription, as we are getting so close to 500, and I really appreciate all the feedback. But without further ado, let's hop right into Wano. So kind of with the prologue of Wano, we see Master Cat Viper go to Sphinx Island, in which he encounters Marco trying to garner Marco's help. But we find out in Sphinx Island, that is one of Whitebeard's last places that he wanted to protect. And now that Whitebeard is gone, there's kind of a lot of things that could kind of go wrong with Sphinx Island. Firstly being Edward Weevil. Edward Weevil, as we know, kind of a psychopath, wants to destroy anything that Whitebeard has left behind, especially his crew, as he believes he is the rightful son of Whitebeard. Additionally, our boy Blackbeard is causing up a storm on the seas, and so God knows if Blackbeard would possibly come to further eradicate more things that Whitebeard has, not only taking his devil fruit, perhaps wanting to destroy Sphinx Island. So Marco wants to stay behind and protect Sphinx Island, and he doesn't seem to be recruited by Nekomushi, but hopefully this is going to be the last time that we see Marco. I imagine he will make an appearance within Wano, which, you know, I can't wait for. One of my favorite first commanders within the story. Marco is a fantastic character. But besides for that, Luffy and the crew are in a stormy area on the sea, which they learn is Wano. And Luffy grabs onto these giant carp, and Luffy holds onto these giant carp that kind of propel the ship forward. And there's this very intense giant octopus. I believe it's an octopus rather than a squid. Sometimes the difference I kind of get confused on. But this music's playing, and we see the gang finally reach parts of Wano, or at least the beginning part of Wano. So the sea is super stormy, and they ascend this waterfall due to Luffy holding on to these carps, which is really cool. And additionally, the octopus continually plays this very odd sound. For me, at least based on the animation, it kind of seemed like the octopus was kind of controlling the carps in terms of when they would jump, but I think it was more so just an artistic design to kind of go along with the music and kind of show us that this octopus is just part of the ship now for, I guess, the next chapter. So eventually they reach this whirlpool, and Luffy decides to kind of stay on the ship, and he's like, oh, I'll come with you, Sanji, and the rest of the gang. But Sanji takes the rest of them, but Luffy goes down with the ship, as whenever he's trying to escape initially, the octopus holds him down. I'm not sure the motivation of this octopus, or why Luffy didn't just conquer his Haki himself out of it, but our boy Luffy eventually washes on shore. But before we get to Luffy washing on shore, we know that part of our crew is already within Wano. Frankie became a carpenter, Robin a geisha, and Usopp a toad oil salesman. And I have one friend who reminds me of Usopp with his tall tales, so I always love to see Usopp further fitting the role of being a toad oil type salesman. Zoro, who we have missed for a very long time, y'all know that we love Zoro around here, was unsurprisingly a Ronin, but he was framed for street murders and he was sentenced to seppuku. And the seppuku blade was super short, but Zoro was able to sense that the magistrate was actually the killer that he was being framed to be, and Zoro, in Zoro fashion, destroys the entire dojo and cuts down the magistrate and his followers. What's notable about the scene is kind of the insanity of the animation that takes place, that really shows us that One Piece is no longer with that previous animation studio. No, now we are rocking with some god tier animators, and we see Zoro imbue this blade with Haki in this crazy scene, and he just sends the entire place flying with a single attack. And Zoro is so badass, and with him in his Ronin outfit, I feel there's no better fitting outfit for Zoro personally, as we have long known that Zoro is going to be the greatest swordsman, and now we are in a place where him being a swordsman, a samurai, a Ronin is no better fitting place. So as we know, Luffy and the Sunny wash up on Kuri Beach, and Luffy wakes up to a giant baboon battling a giant dog named Komaichu. The beast pirates were nearby with this little girl named Otama, who mentioned the return of the Kazuki, but these beast pirates stop to fight Luffy, and Luffy absolutely bodies them. After their defeat, one of the pirates tells the giant baboon to attack Luffy, but Luffy uses Conqueror's Haki. One thing that's pretty notable is that Luffy is going to use Conqueror's Haki a ton throughout this arc. I love the consistent use of this ability, and Conqueror's by far is my favorite form of Haki. After all, it's the Haki of the Supreme King, and as we know, Luffy will be the Pirate King, so I'm continually geeked out whenever he is using that ability. Tama, after being saved, submits herself to Luffy, and Luffy tells her, listen, I'm not going to hurt you. And Tama very quickly says, okay, that's fine, and calls him Big Brother. And she pulls a Kipidongo from her cheek to feed to the baboon and tame it, which we learn is her devil fruit's ability. It seems she can kind of tame animals by pulling these Kipidongos from her cheek. Very cute ability for a little girl, especially to being able to tame animals. Tama, to thank Luffy for saving him, helps store the Sunny, and she takes him to her house and cooks him a large rice meal. Tama eventually leaves though due to her hunger and drinks from the river water, and while she's gone, Grandpa Longnose comes in angry because she never eats and he ate her rations. Tama comes back and falls ill because of the water that has been corrupted by the factories, and we're informed that Wano has been turned into a corrupted wasteland due to Kaido's industrial manufacturing. What's pretty sad about this scene right here is that it is Tama's 8th birthday, and rather than eating food herself, because of the kind of person she is, she thanks Luffy by cooking the last food for him, and now falls ill on her birthday of all times. The village they're currently at, which seems like a ghost town, used to be a thriving village called Amigasa Village, but it was wiped out by one of these supernovas within Drake. The reason Tama stayed within this place for all this time was due to a certain promise from a lovely young pirate named Ace, who promised to return and take Tama to sea once she became a bewitching ninja. If you've been a fan of my One Piece reviews, you know how much Ace means to me and how impactful his death was. For me, seeing Ace's influence and we still see his love over this world, despite him being long dead, really does bring a smile to my face. Luffy, after hearing about this promise and he lacks the gentle speech, he informs her that Ace is dead and not coming back, and this results in Tama crying, calling him a liar, and that with Luffy saying Ace was dead so casually, he must not have known him. This broke my heart a bit because Luffy never reveals to her that he knew Ace better than anyone. In fact, that Ace died before his eyes as his older brother. But Luffy isn't the type of character to mention these things though. Despite his lack of mentioning of Ace minus his death to Tama, I feel Luffy feels responsibility for Ace's promise to Tama and loves her as a result. In fact, he wants to fulfill Ace's promise to bring her to sea to make sure Ace's legacy continues. Tama calls Luffy by the title Big Brother. This is super important because it is the first time in Luffy's siblinghood relationship that he is now the big brother. This is so beautiful because we can see Luffy's immense care for Tama as he informs Grandpa Big Nose he would take Tama to a doctor and get her help. Before he sets off, he gets a fantastic outfit, and I found myself laughing as he takes one of the 21 excellent grade swords because he wants to look like a samurai. The juxtaposition of the sad flashback to Ace's promise to now Luffy's silly personality did ease the tone of these few chapters that for me were a little bit sad. As Luffy, Tama, and her pet take off past the wasteland, Tama wears Luffy's straw hat. Not only does this show the care Luffy has for her, but even more so the significance of the straw hat being worn by someone other than himself is a beautiful trend by Oda of them joining the crew. Listen, I know Tama is only 8 years old, but as we know, Roger had both Buggy and Shanks as apprentices, so despite the fact that they're young, I really do think that Luffy can bring her a part of the crew, and I don't see why he wouldn't, especially given that Ace promised her. Personally, I really want Tama to not leave the story anytime soon. She has quickly become one of the cutest characters in One Piece with her friendly devil fruit ability, her spunky attitude, and clearly a heart full of love, and she's like a little sister you want to protect. As Tama and Luffy continue their travels, we see Basil Hawkins informed about beast pirates going missing near Kuri Beach, and he sets off to find them. On their way, there's a woman they chase down, and before she's hurt, none other than our favorite Ronin Zoro takes out the grunts, and Luffy recognizes his best friend right away. In a touching reunion after almost 100 episodes, Luffy jumps into Zoro's arms as they finally see each other once more. Luffy and Zoro's friendship is one of my favorites of the story, and for the next few chapters and episodes, it's essentially just Luffy, Zoro, and Tama, and this is a trio I could watch for hundreds of episodes and never grow bored. They didn't have long for their reunion though, as they soon engage in battle with Basil Hawkins. Hawkins' straw doll Devil Fruit seems pretty shitty towards his men as they die in his stead. Hawkins additionally uses these cards, and I can't really tell if they're Devil Fruit related or not, but it's strong nonetheless as it can tell him the outcome of events or even up his strength. Zoro handles Hawkins pretty easily though and takes out his straw doll avatar before escaping with guidance from the woman they saved within Otsuru. Although a fairly small fight, Wano's animation continues to wow me. It really sets the precedence that this arc is going to be one of the most beautifully animated anime arcs of all time. And I'm not saying that lightly. There's Demon Slayer out there, all of that. Yes, I know those are beautiful animes. Wano is next level. They eventually arrive at a town called Okoboru, which means leftovers, as they receive the leftover food and scraps from wealthier cities. There is a giant class-like system within Wano that is reflective of a ton of nations around our own world. The grand cities flourish and take the spotlight like the flower capital or Bakura, while the lesser cities are left to fend to themselves. The continual parallelism to our real world from Oda is forever inspiring. Otsuru, to thank the gang, brews a herbal tea for Tama, which thankfully cures her, and she cooks red bean soup for her as well, and while seeing her eat it so thankfully and with tears of joy really did make me feel for this poor girl who has a heart of gold despite being deprived of food and company beside from her master from all this time. We're informed that the Kazuki farm used to feed everyone, but now the farm still existed and it wasn't polluted like the wildlife of the wasteland, and as a result, it was used to feed the Orochi family and rich subordinates, but not regular citizens. Randomly, some of the gifters attack our friends, and they didn't pose much of a threat, but one of them, a gazelle man, very interesting, he grabbed Tama and fled to Bakura, now resulting in our gang going to wreak havoc on these individuals. Despite being told not to make much noise and to stay undercover, our one-eyed swordsman and our rubber boy do not do that very well at all. This scene of them going to Bakura town really reminded me of the time when Luffy, Sanji, Zoro, and Chopper go to destroy the Frankie house whenever Usopp was beaten up, which is one of my all-time favorite scenes within One Piece. Our lovely little sister Tama was clearly wanted for her Devil Fruit's unique capability of taming animals, and we are then led by Luffy's charge into Bakura with Okiku tagging along, who tells the crew of her samurai status. God Beppo and some of the other heart pirates spot Luffy and Zoro making their moves from the top of the mountain, and they warn Law about what they will anticipate to come, and Law sets off to try to mitigate some of the damage that our green-haired friend and rubber boy are about to do. Otama eventually is taken to a house within Bakura town, which is owned by an individual named Hold'em with a lion as part of his stomach. I'm unsure how this works due to the lion and Hold'em having separate minds and ideas, but nonetheless, he inquires about her abilities and takes pinchers to her cheeks to try to see if he can extract her power, which hurts Tama in the process. With Luffy, Zoro, and Kiku now in town, they stumble upon a sumo wrestling tournament with the champion being Urashima, who wants Kiku as his wife. Some of Urashima's underlings take Kiku to him, but Kiku cuts off Urashima's top knot, which ensues his rage. Understandably, our homie just got his stuff pulled out of his head in front of all of his friends, so understandably why he's angry, but nonetheless, we know you should never hit a woman under any circumstances, even if she's a samurai. Luffy stops Urashima and challenges him to a sumo match. Currently, Luffy is undefeated in sumo versus Usopp, so he's a champion within his own right. Luffy battles it out with Urashima, who plays a bit dirty before being thrown into the city, particularly into Hold'em's house. Luffy now sitting on top of the sumo ring with Zoro and Kiku. The civilians now recognize Zoro as the magistrate killer, and Luffy calls out for Hold'em to come out and get the smoke. Hold'em does come out holding Tama and threatens to hurt her if they make any move. Luffy, now with such intense speed, saves Tama from the mouth of Hold'em's lion as Zoro starts taking the provisions that they plan to bring to Okobor town. Hold'em himself isn't super strong, but he's backed by Jack the Drought, who survived the attack from Zunisha on Zo, and if Hold'em is hurt or bothered, Jack comes with his wrath. Initially, Luffy is just going to escape with Tama, but after seeing her cheeks bruised, Luffy, in a fit of rage as an older brother should, proceeds to use Red Hawk on Hold'em, absolutely destroying him. I personally love Luffy angry, and this will not be the last time we see Luffy angry throughout this arc. Law intercepts Hawkins in Bakura town, and Hawkins informs Law that all the higher-ups already know of the Straw Hats' infiltration, and that it's a matter of time before they're caught. The fight doesn't go on for long though. I think if it did, Hawkins would be absolutely murdered by our favorite Opi Opi no Mi user. Zoro, Kiku, and Law hitch a ride on the provisions cart to Okobor town, and Zoro gets scolded by Law, whose plan is continually ruined by Luffy and Zoro. Upon reaching the town, Luffy eventually catches up with tons of fresh water and he feeds the town. Most notably, he gives Tama an apple, and she has tears of joy and says this is the best birthday of her life and the best day of her life, that she'll never forget this. I didn't see this scene coming personally, but Luffy in a serious manner tells her not to set the bar so low, that once he leaves he'll make Wano a place she can eat as much food as she wants every day, the same statement that Ace once made to Tama herself. Inherited will is a continual theme within One Piece. Despite Ace being dead long ago, his will, his love, his spirit carries on within his younger brother Luffy, and that no matter how long Ace is dead, he will never truly cease from this world because he has Luffy to carry on his will. And when Luffy one day falls himself, when one day he dies himself, his will be passed on to another, the perpetual cycle of immortality that inherited will possesses within the story of One Piece. This concept within One Piece is one of the most beautiful things of this story because I believe it's relatable to us as humans within the real world. If we lose someone close to us, despite them no longer being physically here, we still have them within us. Everyone has an imprint put on them by people they love and people they cherish, that even if they're gone, they still exist within us. Truly one of the most beautiful parts of One Piece in my opinion. We're taken back to the flower capital and we see students being taught incorrect information regarding the Kozuki, and they're told Oden and the 9 Scabbards had tried to commit an evil act of opening Wano's borders, but their hero Orochi defeated and killed them 20 years ago. Further world exposure takes place in which a money changer recalls Kazuki Toki, and she swore a curse that 20 years later the Kazuki family would return for vengeance, and as a result, it being 20 years later, Orochi was paranoid despite the Kazuki being presumed to be dead. Law tells Luffy and Zoro he'd take them to the ruins of Oden Castle on top of the nearby mountain, in which Luffy would see the ghost of the Kazuki clan. Before departing, Speed, who Tama befriended, takes her back to Amigasa village, and I hope this isn't the last time we see our little sister within Tama. Okiku once more tags along as they ascend the mountain, and on the way Zoro takes on a ravenous animal and gets separated from our group once more in Zoro-like fashion. As we know, Zoro is horrendous with directions, and God knows when we're going to see Zoro again reuniting with the crew, but Zoro can handle himself clearly. As they reach the graves of the Scabbards and the Kazuki clan, a thought I had mentioned in previous videos regarding the timeline is finally back to the forefront of my mind. On the graves are Kinemon, Raizo, Momo, and Kanjuro, and out of the grave sites comes Kinemon, not as a ghost, just as a queasy man with stomach problems. Kiku and Kinemon seem to know each other very well, which leads us to understanding her identity as a fellow Scabbard. Luffy and Law go inside and Kinemon lays out the situation. They came to this place by traveling 20 years in the future due to Toki's ability, who is Oden's wife. That the death of Oden wasn't for them years ago but months as they set out to recruit allies to take back Wano after suffering defeat at the hands of Kaido and Shogun Orochi. Kinemon talked about Oden's history, that he was expelled from the flower capital for being violent, and that while in exile he went to Kuri, which was a lawless region, and defeated the criminals, most notably Ashura Doji, who we know as Shuntamaro. After doing this, he became the daimyo of Kuri, and he garnered the respect of people. He turned the city into a well-developed place with individuals working together and no longer engaging in lawless behavior. We see that Inurashi and Nekomamushi washed up on shore and were taken in by Oden long ago whenever they were mere kids. Oden, being a man without ambition for the throne, felt confined by Wano's borders and set off to the sea with the Whitebeard pirates and eventually Gol D. Roger, who Kinemon said that Roger admired heavily. Oden's buildup is quite historic, sailing with the 2 strongest men in the world, in my opinion, 2 of the most notable pirates of all of history, and he was admired by both of them. I'm really looking forward to more Oden flashback so we can see just the type of charismatic man he is to not only lead a country, but once leading a country, deciding he wanted to open up the borders and decides to sail with the 2 kings of the sea. What a badass, to say the least. However, this eventually led to his execution, and upon arriving back to Oden Castle, the Scabbards saw Toki, and Toki sent Momo, Raizo, Kanjuro, Kiku, and Kinemon into the future, but she leaves the daughter Hiyori with her. Hiyori is Momo's sister, and I don't understand logistically why she would leave Hiyori behind to suffer death within the flaming and burning Oden Castle, but I don't believe Oda's going to leave us hanging on this, as it seems too obvious of a really weird death to suddenly take place. Kinemon and gang once in the future seek to carry out Oden's will to open up Wano and restore the Kazuki family. With the current alliance, the goal is not to wage a full-scale war, but to conduct a raid on Kaido's home base of Onigashima during the Fire Festival, and that the supporters of the Kazuki clan are identified by crescent moons on their ankles, that Zoro and Usopp are responsible for informing people of the raid to come. However, as Luffy points out, Zoro is probably doing a very bad job at that, as we see Zoro on a ship drinking sake, enjoying himself within the outskirts of Wano. The rest of the crew who isn't in disguise all get their own mission in disguises, but most notably we see Nami as a ninja looking ridiculously good. No complaints on my end, but Nami will be with the master Kunoichi within Shinobu, and they would search out for Doji, Kawamatsu, and Denjiro, 3 of the missing Scabbards. Before continuing this, I think we should all just take a brief moment to just look at how lovely our favorite girl within Nami looks within her ninja outfit. I feel like I'm kind of sounding like Kinemon right now, so, you know, we'll move along. Within Okibor town, the citizens were attacked by Shuntamaro, and during this attack, Jack arrived to fight versus Shuntamaro, and Jack informs us that Shuntamaro hasn't been killed yet because Kaido wants Shuntamaro to work under him due to his immense power. The fight seems pretty neck and neck. Amidst the chaos, we see Kaido and Onigashima drunk, and he gets upset and uses his devil fruit that is finally revealed to us in his giant dragon form, a mythical Zoan fruit clearly, and as Kaido arrives to Okibor town, the weather immediately changes, similarly to when Big Mom rages. That was an unintentional rhyme, rhyme, but if you heard the rhyme, maybe a little like or sub, possibly. Our crew immediately was made aware that Kaido was coming for specifically Law and Luffy, that they picked the fight with Kaido themselves, so Luffy and Law take off by themselves to keep the rest of the crew protected. Kaido drunkenly flew around the town dealing destruction, and Hawkins informs Kaido that the Straw Hats and Law were both at Oden Castle, despite not knowing if this is the truth. Kaido then winds up an attack and blows the ruins apart instantly. Kaido, with his Shenron vibes in terms of his giant appearance, seems entirely destructive. In one attack, his power was monstrous, and with the attack towards Oden Castle, it seemed to us that the Straw Hats and the Heart Pirates within God Beppo were killed. Then we see a scene from Luffy that I love. Rage within anime characters is one of my favorite parts of all series, and Luffy isn't someone we get to see angry often. Luffy immediately races towards the city despite Law warning him not to, and he jumps throughout the town with phenomenal music playing, his body with steam all around it, and ascends to the sky to attack Kaido with an enraged elephant gun, fully hitting Kaido. I can't emphasize how perfectly animated episodes 914 and 915 were. They are some of the best animated things I've ever seen, and although the outcome wasn't in Luffy's favor, they reign as my two favorite sequential One Piece episodes. Luffy encounters Speed within the town, and Speed informs Luffy that Kaido got her and Tama before they could escape. If we thought Luffy was angry now, Luffy is now further enraged, telling Kaido what he did is unforgivable, and Luffy tells Law that if he ends Kaido now, this will all be over. Luffy stands before Kaido and tells him that he is Monkey D. Luffy, the man who will become the king of the pirates. Luffy then tanks one of Kaido's blast, unafraid of the strongest creature in the world. Luffy is clearly advanced in his ability, he's able to fight with Kaido and dodge his attacks, and before you say it, I know Kaido was drunk and not going all out, but nonetheless, Luffy has clearly evolved in combat, which we can see with Law's expression of shock as Luffy engages in all-out assault on Kaido. Typically in fights, I feel Luffy will gradually feel at his opponent, but no, Luffy is in full anger and for good reason. In his eyes, his crew was wiped out by Kaido along with God Beppo and the Heart Pirates, along with Tama. Luffy is not holding back, and Luffy wants to kill Kaido right here and right now. There is no, oh, possibly I'm just gonna beat him to a pulp. No, Luffy is going all out, trying to murder the Yonko himself right here in episode 914 and 915. Luffy even develops this red aura around him, and he hits Kaido with every attack he has, which eventually brings Kaido to his human form, and in an all-out attack, Luffy hits Kaido as Kaido uses his Thunder Bagua to one-shot Luffy. Kaido, we see now fighting more serious, is clearly on a different level, but despite Luffy losing, Kaido points out that Luffy still has a grimace on his face towards Kaido that despite his defeat, he's still unleashing his Conqueror's Haki unconscious. This angers Kaido because now both Luffy and Captain Kid he's seen has Conqueror's Haki, and Kaido believes there are too many young individuals that have the Haki of the Supreme King. Rather than killing our rubber boy here, he tells the Beast Pirates to imprison him and break his will in order to make Luffy a subordinate. All I say to this is good luck, Kaido, as we know, as Sanji has said, our captain isn't the type of person to ever work under someone. Law wanted to rescue Luffy, but he was hit with a sea stone nail by Hawkins, forcing him to flee, and thankfully Law escapes. We learned that Shinobu's ability can mature anything and caused a sinkhole to save our Straw Hats and God Beppo. And as kind of part of the closing parts of this arc, we see a newspaper spread around Wano, and we see the shock from Usopp, Robin, Frankie, and Zoro as they see Luffy was defeated after challenging Emperor and Deity Kaido. Luffy is then drugged to prison and scoffed at by the guards due to his unintimidating appearance, and is thrown in jail alongside none other than Eustace Kid, who both swear their revenge against Kaido. Act 1 of Wano concludes, and within this arc, we are shown a new world of One Piece, part of the world unaware of the existence of anything outside of Wano, a land once beautiful and fertile, now defiled by Kaido's reign. Kaido as a villain not only due to his power and presence, but his acts of destroying a place once so beautiful shows the type of individual he is. He is an unequivocal evil. Within Big Mom, we understood her ambition of a world where all races belong. Within Blackbeard, we know he seeks the throne, but Kaido seems to just seek death for himself and destruction. The pacing of Wano so far has been great, with the fights not drawn out forever, and the animation is such an intense upgrade from previous arcs. What I love most about the animation is that Haki is so visually present that every time it's used, we can see it and it looks absolutely phenomenal. I don't think I'm going to ever get sick of seeing Zoro bust out a sword or a seppuku blade and it being covered with Haki. All the previous arcs of One Piece so far have had really unique and amazing visuals, especially within the environment, but for me, I am such a sucker for the Edo Japanese period, and Wano is by far the most stunning atmosphere and location we've seen thus far, in my opinion at least. I don't know if this is too soon to say, but I believe that Wano so far is becoming my favorite arc of One Piece. And before the comments come, hiXtrah, I know you have commented before that every arc seems to be your favorite, but it is just a testament to how phenomenal of a writer Oda is, that with every arc he improves upon his own work and makes me love the next arc more and more and more. Guys, I really can't believe we have made it to Wano and we are already done with Act 1. So, if you want more videos like this and you enjoy my One Piece analysis and my blind reviews of this beautiful, beautiful story, please don't forget to drop a subscription if you haven't already, and let me know in the comment sections below if Wano to you as well is easily a god tier arc within anime. So guys, as always, be greedier, and I will catch you all next time.